The woman with the issue of blood spent 12 years with a condition where she regularly leaked blood from her ears, eyes, nose. She had an issue of blood. Blood was considered one of the most impure bodily fluids in the culture. A person with this condition was not permitted to be in public. Anything that she touched would be considered unclean and nobody else could touch it. If she sat in a chair, nobody else would sit in that chair. If she touched a spoon, nobody else was going to touch that spoon. Her clothing was considered impure. Nobody was going to, because she had this condition, anybody that she touched would also be considered unclean. Over the course of 15 years, she spent everything she had trying to get better. And a woman in this condition, consider bleeding woman, nobody's marrying her because you can't touch her, otherwise you're going to be unclean. No kids, no husband. In that society, no money. No way of life, no living. But everything that she had, she invested in trying to get better. Didn't get better, she only got worse. Yet over the course of the 12 years, she was wholly and entirely committed to getting well, to being made whole. As opposed to I can't. She spent everything, every day, looking for a way to become whole. Instead of investing everything to get well, many people today tend to invest what is convenient or what seems reasonable so that way they can get by because they're aspiring to dysfunctional or functional dysfunctionality. Instead of being committed to becoming healthy, they're committed to getting by, and that's about as much as I'm going to invest. That's as much time, energy, as long as it works out in the end. That's what I did. And that's what happened. When we get a minute, when we can afford to, when the planets align right, when the government programs get passed or increased, and after we accomplish a few of our life's goals, then maybe we'll take the time to confront the things that keep us south of normal. Yeah. Meanwhile, society is all too willing to help you get by, but not help you get better. The goodness of men sometimes make it possible to survive in dysfunction, but it is only the grace of God that delivers us from it. Rather than subsisting with the problem, this woman obsessively, relentlessly, unequivocally pursued health and wholeness for 12 years of the same problem. When Jesus was on his way to Jairus' house and this woman came into contact with him, she had no business being in the crowds. Mm-hmm. She's not allowed to be in public. Everybody she touches, she puts at risk of being declared unclean. If she touches Jesus' clothes, he might be declared unclean. Yes. That really wasn't her problem. That wasn't her concern. Mm-hmm. She said, if I touch his garment, I will be made whole. Some of us would have stayed home because we didn't want to be embarrassed. We didn't want to offend nobody. We didn't want anybody to yell at us. What if I get out here and I start bleeding? What happens if somebody recognizes me and folks start talking about me? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this. Yeah. And they're not going to let me see him anyway. So why bother going out? Why bother putting myself in? I ain't got no way to get up to him. Nobody's going to let me see him. Why should I even step out there? Or as the man at the pool of Bethesda would have said, I don't have anybody to escort me up there, so I can't. I don't know if the man at the pool would have been allowed to lay by the pool, but I can guarantee you this woman wouldn't have cared. She made up her mind that if she could touch Jesus' garment, she could be made whole. Nobody told her this. She didn't have a Bible. She didn't have a preacher. She didn't have a deliverance servant or a revival to go and get revelation. She heard Jesus about what Jesus had done and came to a conclusion within herself. Mm-hmm. Talk about resolution. Talk about resolve. Talk New Year's resolution. Made a determination within herself. If I can touch him, amen, I can be made whole. Amen. There was nobody proclaiming the TV on this message. But she did not allow her condition to dictate a new normal. As painful and difficult as realizing that you got issues can be, it is better to experience that pain than to begin to think that where you are is how things are supposed to be. Right.
right.
When you know that that's not the case. When you know that God intends better. When you know you're supposed to be healthy. When you know that there's better that you should be experiencing. When you know that God has better. It is important to hold fast to that and not let that dictate your reality. Instead, this woman who pursued her health for 12 years, pursued herself health for 12 years, and in the process of trying to get better, Jesus happened to be passing by. She was already working to try to resolve her problem when Jesus happened to be passing by. Not sitting around begging, this is how my life is going to be, but trying to find some way out. And at some point in time, Jesus passed by, and she made an opportunity for her own deliverance.
All right.